comes out, and then finally commercial radio plays it, and it gets, you know, it gets bigger and bigger distribution.
Channel 15. Are my friends on there? My friends are on TV. Am I on TV? I'm not going to lie. I like seeing myself on TV. How cool is that? That's my music. That's everybody else who's watching at that time seeing my music. All different kinds of music. No game shows. No reality shows.
Is there a plan to merge ACTV with the Austin Music Network? No. Some AMN programs have been submitted through the series process, as are AC producers. There's only 1 hour of AMN that we're going to have, and that's the AMN archives. That's it. So I don't know what. It is in writing. You will have it here tonight. It is in writing.
At a impromptu board meeting that Stefan Ray and his wife Pam went to, produces Democracy Now!, last Tuesday while I was in New York, they called me. They said, we just went to a meeting with some board members. And they said, we want to fire John Villarreal, the executive director, coming up this Friday. And the board didn't even know. Pam and them pulled out the document, said open records, open meetings. You can't do that. You have to give more notice. So they plan to meet tomorrow morning over at Austin Music Network. The Access Board plans to meet at the Austin Music Network, and now we may have put the kibosh on firing John Villarreal. And they've said, we don't like how Jesus Garza looks, because Jesus Garza has long hair. He scares people. We want to get rid of him too. Do they have any idea how big a lawsuit that is? This board is out of control.
We had characters. We had a gumbo of people. We had all the misfits who got run out of Plano and Dallas and Port Arthur and Beaumont and Lubbock, San Angelo. Everybody that grew their hair out first was either a guitar player or a roadie. And so they immediately got the rubber hoses taken to them.
And we are going to jam out all night long for this very special occasion. We are no longer on the city contract. What the hell are we?
You know what? We're free to ride. We are free to ride without the man. That's what we are.
Free ride?
That's it. And we want to ride our bikes. And we want to get loaded.
Tim, are you going to play our first one?
I think Tim should do a dance in front of the camera.
Tim's gonna start it off.
Tim is not a dancing machine, but Tim will pick a video.
Tim is the dancing machine. And
Tim can dance, and he can catch him at LeBare's in Dallas and pay the customary charge.
The customary charge?
Tim
Wait,
apparently drops his pants easy too. Go on, Tim.
He dropped his pants for me. He dropped his pants for me at Beerland.
I heard you dropped his pants.
Let's see your
maybe I dropped
mangina.
his pants for him. I'm sorry.
Let's see your mangina.
Okay, it's my turn. No. So thank you again to everyone. And let's give a big thank you to the Austin Chronicle for our recent award.
The award-winning Austin Music Network, ladies
We
and
are now an
gentlemen.
award-winning station.
Two.
Two of them.
Two.
And wait. Let's give a big thanks to our boss man, Louis Myers.
Louis Myers.
Louis Myers.
Louis Myers, the genius.
We did it.
Louis
did
J,
it.
the only person that ever hit me in my broken leg. Again.
Come on down, buddy. Hi, Louis. You want to address your people?
Well, pretty soon it'll be midnight and we'll be off the air.
I think we've
Louis
already.
missed this going off the air. We took the place
We're
under
working on a
siege.
different time.
I don't know how you got past the guards, but we need to talk to those guys for
What'd
sure.
you do? Cut that intern in half that I chained to the front door?
Oh shit! So we're not on right now.
We
Yeah, we are
are
live.
Why are we on?
because we're celebrating.
Because I locked us in.
We're celebrating. Well, like,
Thought it
okay,
was
you
over.
can explain that
You told
one.
me it was
Go
over.
on, you can explain
We're
that
just
one.
waiting for him to turn.
Go
you know.
ho. Go ho. Feel like Tracy Ullman.
If you are selling your advertisers' products to people that have more disposable income, you can charge more for the ads. So if all these little houses in South Austin, instead of having musicians that make $15,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 a year in them, if they have high-tech engineers that are making $80,000 or $100,000, that's better for the American statesman. That's better for the media.
As you folks know now, there's no commercials, and as you probably know, our budget's been cut by 98% now. In 12 months' time, 98%.
Because we were the cheapest place in America to live in 1974. But we needed more people in order to fill up this place. We needed more people. You know, it takes a lot of people. It takes too many people living in the same place for a trombone player to make a living. You go to any little town you want to around here that's known for its idyllic lifestyle, try to find you a horn section. It's tough. You know, growth has an underbelly, and to deal with the fact that the rich white guys who are greedy and are responsible for us living in an age of zero tolerance are still pretty much in charge. We've got to do what it is it takes to have people that we can trust, because we can't do it all.
Because I always heard in punk music when I was growing up, I was a big punk fan, there was a lot of political music, but it was very angsty music, and you could look at that as music that people who were looking for something to complain about would find something to complain about. But now I hear songs by country and western artists who we normally sort of characterize as the sort of Toby Keith, very, very classically patriotic and nationalistic or even jingoistic. There's a lot of really rootsy country sort of songwriters that are really starting to speak out about the actions of our government, because I think our government's acting totally against the wishes of the people. I think it's hard to really know what they're doing if it's not just for monetary gain, if it's not just war profiteering and trying to control the oil markets, which it certainly may be. I mean, George Bush is an oil man. That's what he knows.
Access television is the model of the country, the most award-winning. And Stefan Ray's going to go over some of this, but it's all right here. Here's one of their recommendations. here, dear Sonny and Rondella, we'd like to place phone numbers and prices on the programs. The contract with the city says you can't do that. The charter says you can't do that. The bylaws say you can't do that. Here's one of those we got from the city. Here's another one. This is from the...
Excuse me. Can I see that, please?
Sure.
But make sure we get it back.
Yeah, we've got to get it all back. If you want copies, we'd be happy to provide it to you.
Let me see it.
Samurai.
The contract for year before last, which was 12 months ago, was for $700,000. The contract that we finished 15 minutes ago for the last year was $150,000 out of med tax money, and this year we have a grand total of $13,300 in funding.
Around here, roads never lead to us. You can stamp your heels, but what is was? Everything tied down is coming loose. You think it's different? Well, you know there's still a noose. Where's God when I need it most? Praying quiet, break the ropes, dust and rocks and suckers.
I love working in this town, but I must admit that there are times when I sort of go, what? How is this? What? How is this right?
You're not a full-time musician, are you?
Yes, I am. We work a lot now. Well, I work part-time, but that is my life. That is what I do, I don't think about my part-time job in the middle of the night. I do love the uniqueness of Austin. I think it's rare in that way, but I also am very much about progress, and I'm not talking about toll roads when I say that, and I'm not talking about Walmarts. I'm talking about just expanding your mind and the way you think, and sort of letting different ideas in, and even embracing them, and hell, maybe even learning something from them.
Access TV is 31 years old. Access TV has a charter and bylaws that they have to be non-commercial. And the plan they had to reorganize Access TV would allow them to program direct and openly take anybody off the channels that criticized a group or engaged in any type of free speech. It openly says it in their corporate minutes. So no, it hasn't. They'll tell you it's about AMN, but that's only a small part of it.
There's a complexity to the government that makes it very difficult to understand for any one individual to be able to know what actually is going on, and that invites corruption at all levels.
15 has lost their contract from ineptitude, irresponsible actions by some of the senior members of the administration here, one of whom I hope does get indicted on criminal fraud charges. The group that set the pace, that designed what is Access TV in America, ACTV, lost their contract, and new folks are coming in very soon. I hope they do a great job. Also, those of you who know me about Co-op Radio's license was not renewed by the FCC. All these stories are not making the front page of the Chronicle. Hi guys, love the Chronicle. I don't see many film crews here. There's a Daily Texan and some independent folks. Last thing I want to say, the state of Austin community media is dismal, I would compare the state of Austin community media to that of New Orleans.
Thank you.
Governments are made out of individuals with a lot of power, and power, as it's proven time and time again, corrupts. And if you don't have very carefully maintained checks and balances, people will take advantage of that power. And so we as a nation need to reinstate and push for the checks and balances in our political system.
Which have been taken out.
Which have been taken out. So we need to know what the president's doing, and there has to be, at some point, a time of review for each and every one of his actions.
They go into these documents here and they talk about other political things being restricted and controlled. This is Access Television.
What makes the Austin community different from other music communities around the country?
Well, of course, the big thing that makes it different that I can see is the number of musicians that comes in here. A lot of them's dreaming, which is good, but Austin is geared for musicians. They accept musicians. Back in Waco when the long hair started coming out, I accepted it because I had no problem with it. But Waco was a pretty notorious town against long hair. We're talking way back down in the 60s, where Austin never did have that problem. See what I'm saying? They accepted the musicians more.
They don't like people at the front desk, and they don't like this and that. They've come in, blown into town to the birthplace of Access TV, this predominantly new board. They blow into town and tell us, you're bad, you've got an image problem, we get problems from the city. Brewster McCracken doesn't like it. There's memos in here about me 3 or 4 months ago, what I'm doing. My God.
I'm radical, I know. Chairman, again, this crowd came to talk about Access TV, and they have children. We want to talk
But the task is that we need to review this contract so we can give feedback to the telecom infrastructure. That's
How many more questions do you have? 10, 20, 100?
Many musicians aren't very good business people. It's hard to find somebody who can discuss business in an eloquent way, in a knowing way, and also be this creative, musician. It's hard to separate those two parts of your brain, and most musicians just don't even care to think about that. And that's a large part of why so many musicians get screwed in deals with record companies or management companies. They don't have any knowledge of the legalities when they're reading a contract. In fact, I've had my own band members come into a meeting with a record company, and they just ask, what it says. They didn't even read the document, and they sign it.
So wait, so answer my question.
This is key.
So if you had your way, you wouldn't do the deal. You wouldn't, if you were the city, you would not sign the deal with the AMP.
Right. No way. Listen, we're happy to cut a city-controlled property loose to Time Warner, okay, because AMN was not free speech. We believed in AMN overall. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it was good money well spent for tourism, and I think it was actually effective. And you listen to corporate spin doctors that told you it was a failure, and all the greedy radio and TV that was jealous of having competition.
You're not answering the question.
Okay, ask your question again.
Everybody needs to join together. There's a lot of different factions in the city that support live music, and they need to come together and what is it, consensus build? Is that the political term for it? There's the Austin Music Commission, there's the City Council, there's, the 6th Street Association. We all need to sit down and talk and get on the same page and try to work towards the same goals of making Austin a musician-friendly city.
I have more of a problem with, I have more of a problem with the excessive amount of violence that's shown on television, because the amount of violence that's shown on television is not, it's not, if there was that much...
It's not helping anybody.
No.
Why are we so...
Well, you get this idea that there's all this violence going on, and there is some violence in the world, but most people are just...
scared and docile and paranoid.
I don't know if I just think that that's more destructive, showing people with guns shooting each other and committing these crimes. I think that's more destructive than saying the word which everybody says anyways.
I agree, but I also think that if you're not going to censor violence, then you shouldn't censor sex and you shouldn't censor language. That's the deal, I believe that the Japanese have a lot of violence on their television and kind of glorify that in a lot of their movies, and they don't really seem to be a more violent people because of it.
Right. Yeah.
And they don't seem to censor anything else, sexual or language-wise, and they seem to be, they seem to be fairly repressed, actually.
Well, I mean, you have this idea that we're living in a free society and that supposedly there is no censorship, but obviously there is.
It's all censorship. It seems like it's even worse
Restaurants.
In an ownership society, then the owner's going to be able to tell you what you can and cannot do, and that's, you know.
Has it gotten worse since Bush has been in office?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't think that has anything to do with Bush. I think that just has everything to do with the fact that we're the kind of society we're living in. It's all, you know, it's built on
Everybody wants
rampant.
everything nailed down now because everybody's scared.
MusicTexas.com